Finley and tells Reacher to get away from the crime scene. Finley tells Reacher he needs to go to Tupelo to break the news to Stevenson's parents, but Reacher says he's going to have lunch with Officer Baker at the diner. Reacher convinces Baker that he doesn't think Baker is involved in the killings, but he thinks Finley is dirty. He tells Baker he's planning to break into the Hubble's house that night to look for any evidence. Baker buys it and says if Reacher finds anything, bring it to him. Reacher stops at a sporting goods store, grabs camouflage clothes, a knife and a blackjack, then heads to the Hubbles. He puts on the gear and smears his face with dark green makeup. While hiding outside, Dawson and 4 other guys in white suits show up and break into the house. Reacher takes out the truck driver. Inside, 2 of Dawson's guys notice the truck's headlights flashing. One goes to check it out, and Reacher kills him, dumping the body in the truck bed. Then he sneaks back into the house and takes out another guy quietly. He finds another one of Dawson's men and kills him too. Dawson notices and shoots at Reacher, but Reacher uses the dead guy's body as a shield while Dawson empties his gun into him. Reacher and Dawson fight and Dawson hits Reacher with a crowbar. They move outside and Dawson knocks Reacher into the pool, but Reacher grabs his gun, shoots Dawson several times and makes sure he's dead. Reacher gathers up all the weapons and tosses them into the Bentley's trunk. Exhausted, he strips off his clothes and takes a shower. While getting dressed, he spots the paper with his brother's clues, but the writing has faded from getting wet. This gives him an idea about how the counterfeiters got their paper. He calls Roscoe to update her and explains his theory. Reacher figures that the counterfeiters are using $1 bills, bleaching them, and then turning them into $100 bills, which are shipped to Venezuela to be used. Roscoe's excited but reminds him they need solid proof before going to the feds. Since Joe had mentioned Jobling's garage, Reacher decides to check it out. After hanging up, Picard asks Roscoe if everything's okay, and she says she thinks Reacher's cracked the case. Meanwhile, Finley's just told Officer Stevenson's parents about their son's death and is back at his motel when Reacher calls with an update. While they're talking, Finley spots 3 hitmen he recognizes walk into the motel office. Reacher tells him how to escape by busting through the wall into the next room and climbing out the window. Finley manages to get in his car and speed off, but not before shooting out the tires of the hitman's car. Reacher and Finley arrive at the Jobling's house, only to find it's been completely destroyed in a fire. A neighbor says Jobling's wife, Judy, left a few days ago. Reacher remembers that Judy never changed her last name. He checks Joe's notes and sees that he wrote Jobling's garage with the plural possessive form. Reacher realizes they need to go to the parents' house, where 2 Joblings lived. They get to the parents' house and head to the garage, where they find several Kleiner air conditioning boxes filled with freshly printed $100 bills. They think they've cracked the case and make plans to take the counterfeit bills to Picard and hand the investigation over to the feds. On the drive to the safe house, Neagley calls Reacher to tell him that she got a description of the hitman who killed the EPA agent, and it matches a dead FBI agent who just so happened to be Agent Picard's partner. When Reacher enters the safe house, he's met by 3 guns aimed at him, one by Teal, one by KJ Kleiner, and one by Agent Picard. Reacher tells Neagley that he has to leave. Teal, KJ, and Picard have Reacher and Finley at gunpoint. They show a video with Roscoe telling Reacher that if he doesn't do what they want, they'll torture and kill her, Charlie, and the kids like they did with Morrison. Reacher refuses, saying that Roscoe and Charlie know too much, so they'll be killed anyway. KJ insists that Charlie will be easy to control after they watch them kill Paul Hubble in front of them. KJ brags about his role in the operation and admits he killed his father and Joe. Reacher figures out that Dawson kicked Joe's body around while Morrison hit it. KJ says they need Reacher to find Paul Hubble, who's a loose end. They know Reacher is a tracker and want him to help Picard find Hubble. Reacher has until the next morning to find Hubble, or else the girls and kids will be killed. Reacher and Picard drive off in the Bentley, and Reacher convinces Picard that he needs a map and some time to think. They stop at the Margrave Diner, where Reacher figures out Paul's in Augusta. When the waitress brings him pie and coffee, Reacher spills the coffee on purpose, and while Picard is distracted, he grabs a fork. They head out to the car, and Reacher sticks the fork into the rear tire. Back at the police station, Finley's been handcuffed, beaten, and thrown into a holding cell by Officer Baker. The fork does its job, and the tire goes flat. Reacher and Picard go out to change it, but when Reacher pops the trunk, he grabs one of the guns he took from Dawson's crew and shoots at Picard. Reacher tricks Picard into showing himself and shoots him, leaving Picard to die by the road. Reacher drives off to find Hubble. When Reacher finds him, he tells Hubble that his family's being held hostage until he's found. Reacher's sure they won't release Hubble's family now that he's been found, so Hubble has to do everything Reacher says to save them. Reacher drives to Hubble's house to get Dawson's truck, planning to use it to rescue Finley and attack the Kleiner warehouse. Finlay's still being guarded by Baker, and when Reacher texts Finley's phone to duck and cover, Baker's too slow to react. Reacher crashes the truck through the front entrance of the police station, fatally injuring Baker by pinning him against the holding cell. After Finley's freed, Hubble shows up, and they grab weapons and ammo from the police locker. Neagley arrives too, figuring Reacher needed help after their last phone call. They leave the police station and head to the barber shop, knowing Mosley will be sympathetic. While Mosley makes coffee, Hubble draws up a layout of the warehouse where the girls and kids are held. The group heads over to the warehouse, finding several guards outside. Reacher believes there are more inside, and he thinks they're scared he'll break in with heavy firepower. Neagley is assigned to take out the outside guards. Inside the warehouse, Teal tells one of the guards to move the kids to an elevated office, leaving Charlie and Roscoe behind to worry about them. Roscoe tells Charlie to stay hopeful, believing that Reacher will rescue them. Neagley takes out 2 outside guards and Reacher deals with the last one. Then he pours gasoline under one of the roll-up doors, and Finley sets it on fire. A helicopter is flying high over the Catskill Mountains in New York. Suddenly, someone falls from the helicopter and crashes into the tree-covered slopes. The body of a man is found lying dead among the trees. Fast forward 2 years, 7 months, and 19 days after the events in Margrave. Reacher is in Murfreesboro, Arkansas, buying new clothes at a thrift store. When he realizes he doesn't have enough money, he heads to an ATM across the street. While there, he notices a woman withdrawing cash, battered and bloodied, and sees a car parked nearby. Reacher quickly figures out she's being carjacked, and her son is being held hostage by an armed thief. He walks over, knocks the thief out cold, saves the woman's son, and tells her to call the cops. After withdrawing cash, Reacher notices 2 deposits in his account. A coded message. The first deposit is $1.10, and the second is $1,030, which together point to the 110th Special Investigations Unit, and its standard distress call, 1030. Reacher borrows the store's phone and contacts Francis Neagley, who tells him that Calvin Franz's body has been found in the Catskill Mountains, apparently thrown from a plane. She asks him to come to New York and assures him the deposit will cover his airfare. A few years earlier in Rock Creek, Virginia, Reacher is assembling the U.S. Army 110th MP Special Investigations Unit. The team is made up of people with special skills but little experience as MPs. At first, they don't get along or work well together. When Franz asks Reacher if he thinks the team will function, Reacher doesn't have an answer but treats them all to beers at a local pub. In the present, in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, Reacher finds Neagley at a cafe. She tells him Franz disappeared a week ago, and his murder has been under investigation by the NYPD. She learned of his death from his widow, Angela Franz. Reacher is shocked to find out Franz was married with a family. After looking at photos from the crime scene, Reacher figures out Franz was tortured, his legs broken with an iron bar, and then thrown from a helicopter. Some college students found his body later. Before he died, Franz left several voice messages for Neagley, asking her to return his call because he needed her help on a case. Neagley couldn't get back to him due to her heavy workload, and regrets not answering sooner. Reacher assumes Franz was trying to get the unit's help, but Neagley couldn't reach O'Donnell, Dixon, or Roscoe, or Sanchez, and Lowry had been killed in a car accident 2 years ago. Swan's contact information is nowhere to be found. Reacher is shocked to hear about Lowry's death and Franz's family. They decide to investigate Franz's case themselves, not leaving it to the NYPD, and head to visit his widow. As they leave the diner, 2 people are watching them. At Franz's house, Reacher and Neagley meet Angela, Franz's widow, who's devastated by the news of his death, and her son, Mikey. When Reacher asks about the timeline leading up to Franz's death, Angela tearfully explains that the NYPD told her Franz was either missing due to a case or partying with the wrong people. But she didn't believe it. It didn't match his usual behavior. When Angela returned home, she found their house ransacked, but nothing valuable was taken, and the burglar's identity remained a mystery. She gives them the key to Franz's workplace, where it had also been trashed, but the police didn't find anything useful. Mikey chants the unit's old mantra, and Neagley, deeply moved, tells him about their shared history. As they leave, Reacher notices a black sedan has been tailing them since they left the diner. Meanwhile, a man with a scarred face pays off the concierge and learns that Neagley and Reacher checked into the hotel under fake names. He contacts Shane Langston, who tells him to keep an eye on them. At Franz's office, Reacher and Neagley find it in disarray. They conclude that whoever trashed the place was looking for something small. Neagley finds a picture frame with a photo of their old 110th unit. As she looks outside, she notices a post office across the street. Using the key Angela gave them, they realize there's another key that could open a post office box. They head to the post office but find it closed and decide to return in the morning. Back at the hotel, Neagley talks about her professional life, while Reacher shares stories about his nomadic lifestyle. They both open up about their past relationship with their former teammate Dixon. Though Reacher denies anything unprofessional ever happened, back in Rock Creek, the team hangs out at an officers' club, where one man threatens to kick Neagley out since it's for officers only. Reacher tries to settle it peacefully, but the man insults Neagley, sparking a fight between the team and the club patrons. Afterward, the team celebrates around a campfire. Reacher and Neagley solidify their friendship, while Franz realizes Reacher had been testing the team dynamic at the bar. Reacher admits he knew the patrons would be sticklers for rules, and the club would be crowded, making it the perfect opportunity for a test. The team commemorates their first night with a photo. Afterward, Reacher is haunted by Franz's body, who asks if he'll do anything about his murder. Reacher wakes up terrified. The next morning, a man using the name Adrian Mount clears customs at LAX and burns his passport in the restroom. Meanwhile, at the post office, Neagley learns from Angela that she doesn't know which mailbox belonged to Franz. The workers refuse to give her any information, since it was registered under Franz's company name. Neagley argues that they could be arrested for federal mail tampering if they try every box. Reacher comes up with a plan. Neagley will distract the workers while he searches for the box Franz would have used, based on his traits. As Reacher goes through each box, an elderly woman catches him, but he manages to find the right one, just as the workers almost catch him. Inside the box they find bills, solicitations, and a USB drive. Neagley discovers her laptop doesn't have a port that matches the USB drive, so Reacher asks to borrow her car to look for a gun. In a church, Reacher asks a priest for the location of a drug peddler under the cover story of Looking for His Cousin. The priest directs him to Dumont, east of Rockaway, where everyone in his outreach program gets their drugs. Reacher arrives, beats up 2 local dealers, steals their money and a gun, and returns to the church to donate to the priest's outreach program. Elsewhere in LA, AM meets with 2 passport forgers and collects his fake passports before slitting one of their throats and stabbing the other in the abdomen. Meanwhile, Reacher and Neagley return to their hotel, only to find their rooms have been ransacked. As they search the room, they ambush another person hiding inside, only to discover it's O'Donnell, who had arrived earlier and found the room in the same state. O'Donnell explains that he'd been in the woods with his family, off the grid. When they returned home, he found the urgent message left by Neagley. He expresses his condolences over Franz's death and vows to track down the culprits. Soon after, Neagley plugs in the USB drive, but it's password protected, with only